Welcome back, guys. Episode number 8. This week we're going to talk about antenatal classes, what they kind of are, what they go over, how you can book them, when you should book them, and all that jazz. So let's start with, I'm gonna kick things off. So I did my antenatal classes privately through NCT, and I loved them. And I think what I loved about them is that I'm a bit of a geek, and I love learning things. So for me, I don't think it mattered what type of class I did, what brand of class I did. I was just doing like school.
Yeah.
And I loved it.
I thought it, to be fair, it was really interesting, the stuff that they go over. Like, honestly, I think myself and Josh were like, oh my God. But we just didn't have not as great an experience.
I think, what was it for you? You booked yours, you looked into booking them a little bit too late, really.
Yeah, so I think we were away in September, and I was like, Josh, we really need to book some antenatal classes. We're about to have what we knew his name was. But anyway,
you were due at end of November. September.
Yeah, and I was like, we really need to get this sorted now. And we literally the only ones available in our area. It was a different company, but they didn't have one close to where we were. It was about 40 minutes away. So we just booked on because I was like, I don't want to miss it. It's only me and Josh. We'll just have to go in the evenings. And I think because I was so far away, I didn't really end up keeping in contact with anyone because I met up with them once and it took me like nearly an hour to get there because of traffic and an hour to get back. Yeah. And I was like, it's just not worth me meeting them every week when I've got to travel 2 hours. And at that point, Finn hated the car seat and it's just...
Yeah. Because I think that's the biggest thing about the type of classes you can do is that you do build relationships with new and expecting parents that are due to have babies around you. So if you can keep them local, that would really be ideal
100%.
Because you form a little village, a little community.
I definitely agree with that. Definitely. Like, that was one of our biggest mistakes. I'd say mistake. Because I don't regret it because I loved learning what we learned amazing stuff from it. But yeah, I wish we booked it early enough and booked it around our area because then I would have, because we were new to the area anyway, and it would have been nice to meet other mums. And some of the classes that I ended up going to with Finn, they all met there was like groups of them and they all met on the classes and they were all together. So I felt like I really missed out and it almost made me feel a bit lonelier because I didn't have that community. But I did have a community because I had you.
You had a community.
A community. I didn't have a community. I had a community. But yeah, definitely look at ones. Get it booked in almost as early as you can.
And you don't have to do them just on your first pregnancy. So like for you, if you wanted to go and create yourself that community the next time you're pregnant, you could look at doing like if the hospital that you choose to labour with offers them, you could have a look at doing them with them, or see if there's anyone that your local council run. Yeah. Because obviously, when you pay for the expensive private ones, to do that for each pregnancy might not be viable. It might not even be viable for any pregnancy for you. But there are definitely cheaper alternatives out there and potentially free ones as well.
Yeah. I just definitely recommend... I really recommend you do them because there's some stuff, like our lady was a midwife, so she was doing part-time the antenatal classes and then part-time on the surgeries.
On the surgeries.
On the wards, but on the midwife, like on the labour wards and everything like that. So, and what is actually mental, I would say, is the girls that had babies around the area had her there.
Oh, that's so nice.
Which is so lovely because it was all intertwined, but obviously...
What a small world for that to happen. That's so lovely for them.
Yeah, so that's why I wish it was like, I wish it was closer to the area, because if you do have like a midwife, if you're lucky enough who does both, they could be there and stuff like that, and you already know them, if that makes sense. But I thought that was lovely. They're like, we're going to this hospital. She's like, that's where I work, and then like ended up someone saying like, oh, the thingy was there when we were having so and so, and I was like, oh, that's so nice. That's really sweet. But yeah, so definitely looking at areas.
I think they're like the most, I mean, if you don't know by now, I always say knowledge is power, knowledge is key, and you just don't know what you don't know.
No, you don't.
So go into these classes, for me, like, babies and pregnancy is something that I'm really passionate about, even before I had children. So I had done a lot of my own research, but there was still plenty of things that I just didn't know until I went. And, you know, the pennies start dropping here, there, and everywhere. And also, when you get to go to them with your partner, it holds them accountable to what's expected to come as well.
100%.
Like, if you don't go, or if you don't go with your partner, they have to learn everything from you when baby's actually here. So it just means that they have to actually, you know, step up a little bit and take that information in too.
I have to admit, that was one thing that I loved, because in our class, the lady was very much, come on guys, like, let's learn how to change a nappy, let's do this and let's do that, because they were like, after birth, you're going to be the ones mainly changing nappies because mum will be recovering. And I really liked that, because it was more like, we are going to be recovering, we just can't be relied on to do nappies. But women,
Absolutely.
like, so it was nice that they were almost training up the guys to be like, this is what's going to happen, this is how you need to do things. And we all brought our bears and practicing nappies, and I was like, no, Josh, you do it this way. And like, it was just really fun. And I think Josh learned a lot, and he came out of it learning a lot. And they did one activity where they had like a shopping bag over their head. Not over their head.
What?
The handle of a shopping bag, or a bag over their head, so their head was out and it was in the handle, and they filled this bag up with like how much the baby, the placenta, water, nestled.
What type of bag are we talking about? Are we talking like literally a plastic bag, or are you thinking more like a tote bag?
Like a tote bag.
Okay, I was like,
No,
this makes a bit more sense.
A tote bag.
To picture it.
It was like a tote bag, and then she basically filled it up, and she was like, so this, like, 2 pounds of sugar is like your water. Don't quote me on what's right or wrong, but this is what she was doing. She was filling it up like this, how much the placenta would weigh, roughly the baby, roughly this and this and this, and she was factoring it. And then she was like, right guys, you're going to put it over and walk around. And they were all like, oh my god. And it's like, yeah, that's how we feel. And I think they kind of really understood, like, oh my god, this is not easy for you, like, if that makes sense. And I think Josh, he like put it on straight away and was like, what? And took it off. And I was like,
no, put that back on.
He was like, oh, it really hurt my shoulders. It must not hurt your shoulders as much because of the pressure. And I was like, sorry, what?
Oh my god.
I was like, your whole body. He was like, it's more your back area. And I was like, everything hurts, Josh. Everything hurts at this point of pregnancy. But it was really fun because they all got to experience like how much. And I think they were shocked, most of them, because they were like, wow, this is how much it actually weighs. And it's like, yeah, mate, it does. But yeah, like you said, like, it really helped them understand what was what was going to happen in birth, what was going to happen after birth, what's going through the woman's body.
Because I found, like you, that my instructor was really inclusive of the partners as well. And like things, even something that is more specific to women, because we had an optional, we done feeding generically, and there was an optional breastfeeding one as well that you could attend, where a lactation consultant led it. And again, dads were included, even though it's something that they can't do. It just meant that they understood the demands of what breastfeeding was, how it affects women and their hormones, and, you know, what dads can do to help in those situations.
Yeah, that's the thing. When in our class she asked us how we're all planning on feeding, so she did like the generic, but because all of us were basically saying we want to breastfeed, that's why she focused
on that,
more on that, because that's what we all wanted to know more of. And also they do test you, they like ask you questions like, what do you already know? And
we did get sent some homework as well. I was
did you?
It wasn't like homework, it was like each partner couple was sent to go find out about a specific pain relief, and then we all came and we like presented it.
That's quite cool.
Yeah,
we just got told, every session we like recapped what happened last session. But it was funny because a lot of the people, well, all of us were all first time parents, but obviously I'd heard a lot of little things from you. My sister-in-laws were, well, one of them, they're both ex-midwives and stuff like that. So I already knew a little bit of information, so I look like the teacher's pet, because I was like, I know the question.
Imagine, we're so similar in that way, that we both like knew the stuff, and I could just see like me.
I know it. Asked me. She was like, yeah, correct. I was like,
I'm like the complete opposite. Like, sat on my hands, like, I know, but please don't ask me. Please don't look at me. I don't want to have to stand up and tell everyone, but you better get it right if you're going to put your hand. Like, if I was sat next to you, I'd be like, she better be telling us right.
I'd just go, And you'd be like, yeah. I'll tell ya. But yeah, it was like little things when we were talking about induction. I was like, oh yeah, these are the steps, because my sister-in-law had just gone through it, so she was telling us all about it. So I was like, I know it. I know all the questions. But you know when you're sat there like, I was sat there like, I know it. And I was just doing like a few little ones, and she was like, yeah, correct. They're like, how do you know all of this? I was like, my sister-in-law's midwife.
Oh my God. I actually can't. You're so like my mum. I just can't.
But then in stuff that I don't know, I get really like, I think it's because I almost want to be like, I do know the answer. I'm not stupid, if that makes sense. Like trying to prove myself. I mean, it was really bad when it came to the first, because we had a first aid course included, because I wanted to get it for Josh. As you probably already know, I used to work in childcare, so I recently did a first aid course before I had Finn, because I'd just left the nursery. So it was all fresh in my brain. It was a nice refresher, obviously. Definitely recommend even refreshing your brain if you already think you know it. But I was like, no, Josh, that's not how you do it. He was like, stop micromanaging me. I was like, but you're not doing them correctly. I was trying to be like, you got pressure, but a bit more pressure on when he was doing like the chest compressions on a dummy.
Yeah.
And I was like, Josh, but I already know how to do it. And he's like, yeah, but okay, I don't care. Like, and I was like, all right, okay, I'll just stop. But I felt really like, I already know all of this, and I really tried to be like, Scarlett, you need to like tone it back, because I just wanted to show that I could do it. And I was like, because all the like others were a bit like, they were really like, oh, I don't know what to do and stuff like that. But because I knew it, I was like, I know it, I can do it. But I think to Josh, it just came off micromanagers, and he did tell me to like back down. I was like, okay, I'll just sit here. So I think I stopped during that, because I was just like, even for me, stuff like you're like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Or not forget, but you're like, oh, that was nice
just
to know.
Just refreshes your brain. With the first
a really deep breath there.
Do you need an inhaler?
I feel like it.
With the first aid, I think that's something I would really recommend. You would most probably going to have to pay for a first aid one, especially if you're doing an infant first aid. But places like the Red Cross do courses. We actually did with Harper. Again, it was just, I think we paid £1.50 each, and it was just something that the council had put together, because the council do loads of different courses. It's not necessarily baby specific. We didn't get a certificate, because I think it was basically she was refreshing, and so she had to do a certain amount of hours to get her certificate to teach. And similarly to you, I'd done my first aid. I'd done the 3-day course where I'd worked, because I dealt with such a wide range of general public. Whereas Aaron was first aid trained through work, but he'd only done the 1-day course, so that doesn't touch upon infants.
Yeah.
So we did that again for myself as a refresher together. And I just think it's something I would really recommend. And even if you can get like your grandparents, anyone that's going to look after the baby.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
If you can find a cheap one like that, just see if they'll do it, because, you know, when they're looking after a baby in the future, when you're weaning and stuff, or if anything, God forbid, touch wood, doesn't happen, but if anything did happen when they were having looking after the baby for you,
put you at ease a little bit,
puts you at ease too. Yeah,
it's funny because we've got a Tiger Lily rep out the brand name there. We used a certain brand for it, and they give you like a little first aid book.
Oh,
and I always kept it, so I've got it in the house. So I'm like, here's the first aid book if you need it.
You like, I do laugh at you when you, because you've said that a few times.
Oh,
not on the podcast, just
fine.
in general life.
Yeah,
she reminds me that she's first aid trained.
I am
has
first
this
aid
book.
trained. Yeah, I have this. It's a good book.
When I was working at Nice Rink, this poor girl was on a lesson with her instructor, and she just went head first into the ice and knocked her teeth out, and she must have been about 8, and they were her first pair of adults' teeth. And I just saw a book from the first aid room, went straight to teeth. And if I hadn't have done that, basically what you do with teeth if they fall out is, if you can, put them into milk, because it keeps them until you get to hospital, and then it just preserves them a little bit more, and the doctor can hopefully, or the dentist can hopefully then fix the original teeth back in. But yeah, if I hadn't had that book, I would have probably done the worst and put them in water, which would have then been a no-no. And so it's the same sort of thing. Just even if you don't do a first aid course, maybe just going on to Amazon, seeing if you can just find a first aid book for infants, so that you've got something in the house. Just in case, that you can jump on that whilst you're on the phone to 111 or 999. You can still be doing action stations.
Yeah, I agree. Because I think sometimes as well, like, always, even though you are when you do first aid courses, in that moment, I was about to say the fear, it's not the fear, it's like adrenaline comes over you and you almost just know what to do.
Yeah, if you've done the course, like, that information comes back to you very quickly.
But then you also sometimes, if you're like very close to the situation, you can end up panicking, so it's almost good to get a bystander to help in them situations, because you might be flustered. But all of that you would learn in your first aid kind of course. So either find an antenatal class with a first aid, because I think a lot of them are more doing it.
Yeah, a lot more are doing it. I think with NCT,
thanks for saying it correctly.
NCT, I think, is an additional charge.
Oh, okay, yeah, because mine wasn't. It was mine's Bump and Baby.
Okay.
It's just a smaller brand, I guess. And they did
There's another one that does like virtual ones. I want to say, I don't know, but I guarantee if you've had a baby, Facebook knows you've had a baby, and this company comes up as a Facebook ad.
We're gonna get like first aid stuff pop up now on ads. But yeah, just have a look out and see what you can find.
And lots of places do like free trials, so they might have like an actual antenatal course that they do that runs for 10 weeks, but they might do a taster course on just baby necessities that start, making you think about things that you wouldn't necessarily have thought of beforehand. And it's a good way to then know if you like their teaching as well, to then book onto the main course. And the same with like hypnobirthing. A lot of places will do a taster lesson as a giveaway or really cheap, as a way of basically trying to get you to do their full course. But even just doing those taster ones,
just to do it, just so you have a bit of a understanding. I think it's just really important. But when you're talking about hypnobirthing, and obviously classes next time for next baby, that's a course I would really like to do when I'm next pregnant.
And that might be enough for you to meet other women.
Because I would like to do something, because they did like a hypnobirth. I'm not very good with like stuff when people just send you like a booklet online. I just won't read it, if that makes sense. It has to be either posted and it's physical, or I have to go somewhere and learn it. I'm not, if there's someone just sends me something, I'm a bit like back of the brain. So I definitely think I'm going to do hypnobirthing courses next pregnancy, because I think it'd be really good just to understand. Even if Josh didn't necessarily come with me, it's just more for me mentally. I think I'd really benefit from all of that.
I think for you, like, what would really empower you with that is, I think so much of your experience with your labour and how it really didn't go as you expected. And I think a lot of women suffer with sort of trauma or negative connotations with their first labour, because it's just so new and fresh and just nothing of what you expected. And again, that's why antenatal classes are so important, because you can learn about so much aspects of labour. And for you, I think a lot of your empowerment got taken away from your experience. So I would definitely suggest hypnobirthing for you. Even if you don't apply the typical hypnobirthing techniques, it's just knowledge is power.
100%,
knowledge is key, and just doing that will help you know your strengths as a woman, of what your body can have the potential to do.
Yeah, that's definitely, because I think with your first antenatal class, I definitely think when you go to that, you learn so much knowledge and facts.
And it's more medical.
It's all medical based. It's almost like what's going to happen from like A to B. These are all the different options,
which is really important to know.
Yeah, and this is the thing. I'm so glad we did it, and I learned all of that. But now I learn all the knowledge and the facts. But I really need to learn about my body and how I can. Because I think I probably told this in my story, my birth story, but I'll quickly talk about it again quickly. When my waters broke, the sheer panic of my waters broke, I'm about to have a baby, I need to be clean. And I jumped in the shower. It was freezing cold. It's November. There was no heating on. It was like midnight. And I went, I need to have a shower because if I'm going into hospital, I need to have a shower. Don't know why it went through my brain. I think jumping in the shower, I came out of the shower and I was shaking because I was so cold, and I think the adrenaline almost just threw me. And I think even starting it off like that just was almost like a recipe for disaster. It just kind of had a bit of a snowballed because my body, I didn't go, oh, okay, my water's broke, let's calm, let's try and go back, like, let's call the doctors. It was really relaxed. I was like, oh my god, I'm about to have a baby, because I didn't get told, maybe I just didn't really understand that if your waters break, sometimes nothing can happen from that. Like, you may not go into labour, your waters could just break. So when my waters broke, I thought the movies, the typical, oh my god, I'm going to have this baby. And I think because of that, it just kind of set me into a bit of, when I should have just been relaxed about it and gone, okay, they've broken, let's see if it's not going to go into labour, this is going to be my option.
Yeah.
But instead I was like, I need to get this baby out, oh my god. It was all just very like rushed and panicked. And Josh will always moan at me for that night, because we went back home, we went to bed, and within 2 hours I couldn't sleep. I was like, you need to get up and make me some toast, I need to get this baby out.
Yeah.
This was like
that's what happens when it's your first baby.
Exactly.
You just, everything is so unknown, and I've never done hypnobirthing classes, so I don't know what they actually teach, but the principle of it is increasing your oxytocin levels and remaining calm.
Yeah.
And if you'd had that experience,
I may have stayed,
that might have helped you.
Yeah.
But there's no point in looking back and beating yourself
Oh,
up, because
yeah,
now you know, like,
100%.
what changes or what you do differently.
I just
next
definitely
time.
That situation has almost taught me what not to do, and that I really need to look at other options and be in control of the situation. Because I think antenatal class, they kind of just tell you, these are the facts, these are the different options. So you hear about induction, you hear about C-sections, you hear about natural birth, you hear a lot about all these facts, but you just don't know obviously what path you're going to go down. And from listening to induction, I thought, oh yeah, maybe I could get induced, like it seems like a really fine experience. But I obviously didn't do because they obviously can't tell you, they tell you the process of an induction, but they don't tell you what it could do with your body and what they recommend with pain relief, including that, because that's not what they're telling you. This is the option, this is what happens. And I think that's the information that I almost needed, because I saw it as like that's fine, I'll be fine, I won't need any painkillers or anything during an induction, I'll be fine with every step. Obviously, if I'd have actually done my own little bits of research, then I would have realised you need to get clued up on what's actually going to go on with your body. But
it's a hard thing to do, because you don't know if you're going to have an induction.
Exactly.
You don't know if you're going to have a forceps or ventouse delivery. Unless you're making a decision of having an elective C-section, you don't. And even then, you might go into labour before the day.
Yeah.
You don't know how your labour is going to end up. So it's hard to say that you should have gone away and learnt a little bit more, because, like you said, it's so much information in that class, and you don't know what's going to be specific to you. So you can't go away and research one specific area. But I would say to anyone listening, if there's an area that you're specifically scared of,
100%.
Go and find out more information about that. Don't let fear be the blocker of finding out more information, because for myself, I had a ventouse delivery with Harper, and that was something that I really was scared about and didn't want, and did bury my head in the sand a little bit about it. So when it came round to having it, I didn't really have any real knowledge other than what we spoke about in the antenatal classes. And even though health professionals should be giving you the information, again, they don't necessarily know what you do know and don't know. So unless you're asking the right questions, they might not tell you the right information, and they might not educate you on all the risks involved. And I think when you brought up induction, like, I was like inside screaming, because I think that is a massive one that so many women are not pushed in a horrible way to be induced, but so many women, and all it takes is actually a couple of researchers on Google to see like the stats of inductions and actually whether or not they're necessary, and the amount of women that are probably going forward and having unnecessary inductions there's definitely a place for induction. So I'm not saying they shouldn't happen, but
just find out a bit before if you're going to go through with an induction. I think just maybe just talk about it a bit more. If it's an option. Like, I remember I had really bad sciatica, and they thought like, oh, we can get you an induction and get the baby out if it's really hurt, and you were like, oh, just wait and hold off. But I was in my head, I was all really positive about it, and I'm glad I still had to go through the induction process. But with what happened, when I spoke to my sister-in-law about it, she was like, if you would have called me, I would have, because she obviously a trained midwife, she would have been like, obviously, you have to follow what the midwives want you to do. But she was like, I literally would have told you to just stay at home as long as possible. Like, do not go back in until...
You don't have to follow what they say.
Yeah.
Your body is your body.
Yeah.
You're giving birth. Now, if you're not going out there and educating yourself, then all you can do is follow what the midwives say.
Yeah.
However, if you're going out there and you're learning about it, you can make an informed decision of what you think is wrong or right.
Yeah, definitely.
And, that is your decision, and you can stick with your guns. Your body is your body. Make sure you know. If you don't know, then you're left with no choice but to just follow what someone believes is right for you.
But yeah, you know your body, and I think that's one big thing is that, like, I think sometimes when I feel like mainly when it is your first baby, you almost don't feel like you have the power or control, because you're very like, oh, but I don't really know what's going on because you've never experienced it. But I think when remember, you are almost like the powerhouse.
Yeah.
What you want, you get. Do not you obviously listen, but also they can't recommend you stuff now. Like, they recommend, but they don't tell you. So you need to make sure that you're like, if you don't want something, you do not do it. And I think that's a really big thing to know when you are having a baby, is like, you are in control. This is your body. This is your
You have to
home.
consent to everything.
Yeah.
And if they're not giving you all the right information, you're not making a decision with full consent.
100%,
so you just go out there. Antenatal classes to get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
And then anything that you feel a bit wishy-washy about, definitely go away and just NHS website. There's loads of charities out there. You can look at other antenatal class companies' websites and see what they suggest. And actually, just another one, whilst we're talking about that mix of what they teach in some antenatal classes, of being like, this is basically the guidebook, isn't always the reality. A massive one, I think, is feeding. So we were taught, when you're breastfeeding, there's a certain way to hold the baby, and a lot of those aspects are correct. Like, you shouldn't hold the back of their head, so you need to hold their neck, and you need to do it like, if anyone can see me, I'll come up a little bit. The way they taught it for our class anyway was that you had baby in your hand, their head here, and you would hold just the back of their neck, and you would try and keep yourself. I can't even do it now, let alone with a real baby in my hand. And you would keep the baby in alignment, which that is correct. So shoulders, hips, knees, neck, all in alignment with each other, so they're not in an awkward position. But the only position they taught us as mums really was this kind of hold.
It's like the rugby position, is it?
No. This is the cradle.
The cradle
hold. They did go over the rugby position, which is more down here, but they were so set on that you had to feed in this specific way, and that's just, every woman's body is different. Everybody's breasts are different, and I have really big boobs, so for me that is not attainable. Like if I was to hold it how they would want me to hold the baby, I don't have any space for the baby to actually be in between my arm and my boob. And so I really struggled with Harper the first couple of weeks, because I just couldn't get the latch and the position to be correct for us. Obviously now, I've breastfed Lily and I've breastfed for over 2 years combined, that I have that empowerment and that knowledge. And I saw this fantastic, I follow this lovely nurse on TikTok, and she does some great videos, and her little saying was, you've got to angle to the dangle.
That's
and it's
so
true. So you do have to have that alignment.
Yeah.
You do have to avoid touching the back of baby's head, and you do have to try and allow them to attach chin first, so the chin is digging in.
Yeah.
All of that is true. But the position, it doesn't matter what position you're in.
Yeah.
If you're getting those points, you're just making sure that you're angling the baby to the dangle of your tit. Like,
there we
and
go.
if I had been taught that, if someone had said that to me, then I wouldn't have beaten myself up about the fact that I was forcing us to try and be in this position that was then forming bad latch.
Yes.
Sorry, I got a bit passionate then.
But that is, like, that's the thing. Like, in antenatal classes, they will tell you all the facts, but they won't go into, like, specifics of, like...
Because they can't. There's, like,
they're
10 people in the class.
Exactly. It's like a little textbook, and you have 8 sessions. They have to try and almost cram as much information as they can so they can prepare you into having a little baby. And they also prepare you from the build-up to having the baby and then after. So you're learning, like, you're not just learning when the baby comes out. They also help you what's going to go through the body, like, hormones wise, and they kind of
even like
talk about that
what
stuff.
clothes and equipment you should
yeah
have
like
as well.
temperature for like clothing and everything like that, like what you should dress them in and what temperatures and stuff. They literally cover as much as they can in them sessions, so they're not going to be able to, like, go on a little tangent of, it's not a tangent, but
they're not going to be able to
go into one subject.
They're not going to be able to go into women with big boobs.
Exactly. They're just going to talk about breastfeeding as a whole. So I definitely think antenatal classes are great. Get that knowledge.
It's a fantastic starting point.
Yeah, 100%. And then if there's anything you want to learn out, you can always contact them directly as well.
Yeah,
and say, I really, really want to find out a bit of information more about this. And then they will guide you on how to find that information. So if you're ever like, oh, actually, I really want to find more about breastfeeding styles, they can help you, or they'll send you places to go to search it. So always reach out to them. They want to be there for you and they want to help you. But I definitely, one big thing is get on that course as early as you can. Don't miss a slot because they do get packed up, booked up.
I would say book as you enter your first trimester. Second trimester.
So you're ready, and book.
And if they're not right for you, because some are expensive, and some people don't feel comfortable in those group environments. And if you have the money, I guess you could get them one-on-one. But there's loads of YouTube videos out there.
Mm-hmm.
Just check you're watching videos from a credible source.
Yeah.
So like NHS again, any companies, like I keep mentioning NCT, but like they might have videos on
Bump and
YouTube.
Baby, only because I know them. That there are as well.
And specific ones if you don't want to pay for a hypnobirthing course because you're doing antenatal. There is loads on YouTube.
Yeah. So just search around, see what you can find what's best for you. Also I know a lot of people look into the company a little bit, because obviously you used NCT, but we just found NCT was just a bit too expensive for us as well, and it was fully booked. So even I tried to get Josh on, but that's why we looked at other companies, because there are other companies that do it.
Yeah,
so don't just
loads.
So just have a look. I followed mine on Instagram, to be fair, to look at their community. But yeah, just do your bit of research, get booked on early, and knowledge is power. Amber's quote for the day.
Thank you. Or quote for life.
Quote for life, not for the day. Quote for life.
See you later, guys.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of Honey, I Birthed the Kids. We love sharing our own insights and experiences as parents, but that is just what they are. So if you're concerned by anything discussed today, speak with your GP, midwife or other healthcare professional. For more information about Honey, I Birthed the Kids, visit our social media platforms and website www.honeyiBirthedTheKids.com.